Welcome to Digital Talk, and join us on our journey to discovery with our guests, where we spotlight entrepreneurs, leaders and innovators who are leveraging digital technology and telecoms to drive positive global impact, deliver trailblazing innovation in a disparate and ever-changing world. Through our podcast, we aim to share meaningful stories and views which hopefully inspire others, uncovering the unexpected, spotlighting hidden gems, and sharing fascinating personal stories related to this vital industry, which is the bedrock of digital. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the follow button and give us a like for others to be able to find Digitel Talk.
Did you know?
The world generates tons of e-waste per year, but exactly how much? The truth is rather shocking. Find out at the end of today's episode. So my name is Ian Ginn. I'm the host of Digital Talk. I'm delighted to have as our guest Monique Lempers, who is the Chief Impact Officer at Fairphone, a pioneer in sustainable and ethical smartphones, with over 20 years of experience in sustainability, ethical sourcing, and impact management. Welcome to the podcast, Monique.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
Yeah, we really wanted to get you on the podcast, as you will know from your own history, from the company's perspective. Is also I'm involved with the GSMA Glomo Awards, and I think you won an award in 2024, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we did win the award back then, and actually we are running up again for award. So stay tuned for the week of next week when we're in Barcelona.
That's going to be an interesting event indeed, and I think wish you luck on that. And exactly, that was the second point I wanted to make, is that actually you're suckers for punishment, but maybe you'll just go and win it again. Maybe it's like the Dutch ice skating team; they just win everything. I'm not sure about that.
We don't go for less than 10. 10 trophies, yeah.
And some audience maybe, I mean, the name's a great name. Obviously, it fits really nicely, but maybe audience don't really know much about Fairphone. Do you mind explaining a bit more about the company?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Fairphone is both an electronics manufacturer as well as a social enterprise that brings to the market smartphones and also headphones. I'm wearing one that are built to last, easy repairable, and they're also the most sustainable and ethical electronic devices on the market.
Okay. And your role is, which I thought was very interesting, Chief Impact Officer. I haven't heard of many of them, but what does that entail?
Yeah, well, in essence, a Chief Impact Officer at Fairphone means that I'm responsible that we live up to the fair in Fairphone, right? That we indeed bring to the market those products that are the fairest out there, that have a positive footprint, while at the same time also bringing down our harm to zero. In that way, we prove that it is possible to do successful business without needing to exploit the planet or its most vulnerable people working to produce the phone.
Yep, absolutely. And I guess, I mean, sort of the whole life cycle, I guess, of the device that you're also managing from as to say, from cradle to grave is one of those terms as well. And where did the idea come from? I mean, there are lots of mobile phones out there, but what was the inception of this idea? And what are we trying to solve?
Good question, because it's actually quite a story. Fairphone didn't start with a polished business plan like other companies might start, but we started more as a protest 50 years ago. We were not a company. We were more like a campaign led by activists, techies that were really determined to expose the role of conflict minerals back then. Along the way, we moved from shouting outside the system to building that business within it, because we realized that to change the rules and to change the industry, we need to do that within the system and within the game.
Right, exactly. As you say, shouting from outside the tent into the tent doesn't help. You need to be in the tent to actually make a difference. And so you sort of said, right, we'll roll our sleeves up and we'll show you how it's done.
That's exactly what we did.
Today's episode is sponsored by IFG Consulting Europe. who help operators to tap into technologies to accelerate digitization of the network, drive revenues, and reduce costs by championing promising software providers in telecoms, enterprise, and mobile markets. Go to ifgconsultingeurope.com to find out more.
And have you been on board yourself for much of the journey?
I've been on board now for a bit over 10 years. So that is, quite a significant part of the journey. We started as a campaign in around 2011, 2012. And then in 2014, we brought to market our first Fairphone.
Right. And was that a challenge? Had you, as you say, you mentioned your campaign, which then was cause, and if you like, I think I'd use the term you were a cause at that time. And did you know that? Did you do? I mean, you said you weren't really have a business plan, so it sounds like you hadn't done, let's say, market research. Or how did you realize there was going to be a market for what you were producing?
No, back then we didn't even have a commercial team. So it was indeed really building that airplane while flying. That was a big challenge. And I think especially in the very beginning when we had indeed a small team and we also were still very much a niche player in the European market. Yeah, that was of course not an easy task, because at the end in this industry, this tech industry really runs on volumes and on relentless product cycles and on delivering quality. And yeah, especially in the beginning, we didn't have the professionality yet and we didn't have the volumes yet to deliver on that.
Yeah.
So we really needed to step up big time to get there. I think one of the big hurdles but also lessons and changes that we made was that we were making at a certain moment a phone for good, but that for many people meant or sounded like a phone that comes with compromises, because we presented it as a phone that is repairable. But the perception then came with, well, repairable must be fragile, or ethical, must be too expensive. So we really had to turn that around as well, from stopping to preach to start compete, by proving that, yeah, we could really deliver premium specs and quality first, and then also still be the leader on sustainability.
Yeah, that is quite a challenge. Fairphone is trying to revolutionize the electronic industry from the inside out. What are the 2 or 3 most powerful levers you found to actually shift such a huge, fast-moving industry towards a durable and fair supply chain?
Yeah, so I think that when we look at the most powerful levers, and I need to pick 2, then I would pick. I would pick from our side, excellent execution. Right, we, as I just mentioned, we really needed to. So it's excellent execution and also the right communication to reach your broader audience. We needed to stop preaching, start competing, start with explaining and also focusing in our product development on the quality specifications like performance, speed, high-end camera, long battery life. And then after that, explain why it is also good for people and for the planet. So that is really one of the biggest levers we found that made this turn. And the other one is also still our credibility and our transparency, I would say. We have credibly shown over the years that we have increased the bar for fair production with each device. So it's not just saying, it's also actually doing. And at the same time, we're also 100% honest about the messy bits, like the fact that we're not 100% fair yet. We're not fully there yet. And that builds, I believe, the radical trust needs that needs to be in place in order to be seen as a leader that can move the industry forward on this agenda.
I think those are both very interesting insights and feedback. As you say, you're building a phone without compromise, in a way, from a compromise from a perspective of customer experience and customer expectation side, but then still able to think about the supply chain in such a way that you could actually make it more sustainable and ethical at the same time. Those are a great principle. So hopefully I've picked it up correctly. Brings me on to another question around that, which is, when you trace a Fairphone from a mine to a smartphone, What are the toughest realities you've encountered in mining and manufacturing? And how do you balance those hard truths with the need to scale and stay commercially viable?
Yeah, that is the question, right? And it's true. It is a constant balancing act. At the same time, to change the system, we have to work inside it, and that requires realism. We cannot, we cannot be perfect to start with. It has meant making tough choices, like, for example, working with imperfect suppliers, or choosing between the more strict labor standards and risking a loss of sales to an extent that it challenged our longer term existence and therefore also our mission. So we really needed to navigate this. And we did that by, on the one hand, setting focused targets that we really on a yearly basis hold ourselves against, and at the same time innovating step by step and working together with our suppliers, and also investing in knowledge sharing and capacity building to bring those innovations to the supply chain, to the value chain that are needed uh, to address some of the most critical challenges we have. Like, for example, the Fair Mind credit system that we've set up, the Fair Trade Gold that we integrated into our supply chain, but also the living wage bonus programs that we have and are running with our suppliers, with our component suppliers, with our assembly manufacturer. Yeah, we didn't do that overnight. We worked on that, and we worked together with partners on that for over years to get to the level where we are now.
Okay, so in a way, I'm just thinking on the supply chain side, it's a carrot and stick approach. At least there's a carrot there, which is great because it seems to be you're incentivizing your supply chain to sort of support the ethics and sustainability goals as well, in the way they deliver, but also the way they treat their staff.
Yeah. Yeah, it is indeed carrot and stick. It is showing on the one hand and also proving that there's a business case for doing good. And on the other hand, and by the way, also investing in that, right? So it's not just auditing or saying that suppliers need to do corrective action, which is more the risk management approach. But there's also always the stick. If there's no action, if there's no improvement, yes, then we do either need to say goodbye at a certain moment, or there are other consequences. But yeah, there's always a carrot and a stick.
When you look at the market and the competitive landscape, if every phone maker had to follow your standards of repairability, fair material, fair wages, how would our device prices and upgrade habits change over the next decade? And what role would telecom operators play in accelerating that shift? In a way, I presume you would welcome that other manufacturers were more in line with your policies, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That is our mission. Our mission, which was our original mission, and we carried that mission through until today, is that we want to inspire the industry to become more responsible. So that is really what we're after. And we do that by showing that things can be done differently, by proving it's possible, innovating, and also bringing on board others. For example, when we set up a coalition like the Fair Cobalt Alliance, we invite others to join. And your question, if every maker would follow our standards, what would devices then look like? Yeah, in essence, we would move away from a disposable culture. Instead of replacing a whole device, you should be able to, when it's damaged, you should be able to repair it easily, and even where possible, upgrade modules. For example, with our Fairbuds, it's possible to use, when you're already an owner of the former version, to use the upgraded speaker driver that was built for the new phone in your old device. So you can upgrade it. So you don't have to buy a new headset. So it's about keeping your materials for as long as possible at its highest value. That is what the industry would look like. And of course, we would like to see higher valuation of the work that is done in the value chain by people that are critical for making these devices and bringing them to the market. Yeah, when it comes to how the customer acts. For example, the procurement departments of enterprises that also want to follow up on their green commitments. What we would like to see is that procurement officers look more at the total cost of ownership of products that are bought. Because when you look at the total cost of ownership, so not just at the moment you buy the product, but how long does it last and how much does it cost spread over all those years? Because you don't need to replace your device for another device, it becomes a lot cheaper. So taking into account the total cost of ownership in procurement practices is super critical, and we hope that the industry will embed that practice better or more. And then when it comes to operators, they can, of course, they have a role to play. I think operators can shift this, stopping this constant cycle of make, use, dispose by shifting from free upgrades with new subscriptions to supporting more the whole right to repair movement, and come with promotions that are related to repairing your device. And of course, their mobile fleets can be also seen as strategic assets for carbon reduction, for example, or for ethical practice. So that is how telecom operators can really help.
Absolutely. As you were speaking, you made me think of, as you say, your actual value over time in a way, and you took the total cost of ownership, but also by making the device as a whole last longer and making it replaceable, actually the actual value is more over time, if I can put it that way, because otherwise throwing each away and throwing each version away is itself not just harmful, but it's quite a costly practice as well, for the people and the planet as well. So one of the areas that this podcast has been involved with, maybe you know this, the ITU have put AI as part of their portfolio. So we're at the AI for Good Summit last summer in Geneva and did a number of podcasts around AI. But the thing that always strikes me is that, lots of the vendors in the last few years, right, the big change has not been the camera as much or the look of the phone. It's like, it's now AI enabled. But I see that as sort of double-edged sword, because on one side, you've got the user who maybe is thinking I can be more efficient or effective, or let's say, have used my phone in a better way using the AI itself. But of course, that also creates in the back end an energy consumption, not just a spike, but a boom, which is happening, which is not maybe visible to the end user, but is there, right? Because the energy has to be supplied from somewhere and it's very costly. So do you think there's a balance to be struck between those in the AI space? What's Fairphone's view on that?
Yeah, I definitely think there is a big contradiction that comes with AI. We on the one hand also see, and of course within our day-to-day business, but also literally in our impact work, that AI can really help to have more impact, to become more efficient, to do things faster and smarter. So I think that's clear for everyone. At the same time, it is so true. I mean, it uses a massive amount of electricity. Therefore, the key thing is that we shouldn't just build huge power-hungry systems just because we can, right? We should really think about how to do this smart, how to do this lean, and choose energy efficient ways to do this and without wasting resources. So that it requires smart thinking on how to do this best in a green way that doesn't hamper our very much needed transition to a green economy.
Have you actually have that as part of your proposition at all, AI, or is that something on the future roadmap, do you think?
We have Android software on our devices, at least on part of our devices. We also provide devices with open source software, with Morena French software. But the standard device comes with Android, and Android has Gemini. So in that sense, it comes with the software that is on our device. At the same time, it is not us that provides or manages the AI software on the Android platform. So again, that is at the same time, we do recognize, and in these moments, I always call upon the industry to ensure that also these actors take responsibility for ensuring that the electricity, the energy that is needed for this, and let's make sure that we we get that from renewable sources.
Maybe that would be an interesting feature for Fairphone, because I think habits are driven by people knowing, having data to act upon and make decisions. So maybe that would be a Fairphone add-on to say, this is how many kilowatts you've been burning through your AI usage. Maybe people like the big companies, the hyperscalers, wouldn't like that, who've built these large language models. But from your perspective, you might actually want to be able to share with your users how much energy they're using, and is the decision they're making, or is the query they're making on via the AI necessary, or could they just I don't know, take a calculator, or even just do it in their heads, right? But these are things, an idea just on my side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love these kind of making people aware of what your footprint is. Also, when it comes to, for example, travel or small things like eating meat, your impact is not known to many people, and insight is often a first step to change behavior.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. You should imagine each time I get on the scales what happens. But there we go. Trying to improve that as we speak. Coming on to something which I think is another area of providing fairness also means giving people connectivity as well. And I just didn't, I've seen the pricing, I think, of version 6 now. We've just come out. That's the latest version. Is that correct?
Yeah. Correct.
Is I'm going to say what I saw, and I haven't done a huge amount of research. Is around the 400 and 450 euro mark, which is good. But I just wondered, has Fairphone got a view on how to support people in less advantageous countries? Because making mobile phones affordable is the entry point. Without that, you're going to struggle. I don't know if Fairphone gets involved with those sort of initiatives.
We have certainly brought down the pricing of our product significantly from Fairphone 5 to Fairphone 6. Our launching price was already 100 euros less, and that has to do with making sure that we want to, or with our aim to make fair electronics as accessible for as many as people as possible. That touches upon your point, but not fully, because obviously there are many people out there that cannot afford such a phone. And the way we are tackling the inequality and poverty agenda is obviously through our value chain and our fair value sharing proposition, namely that for every phone that we sell, we ensure that the most vulnerable people that earn the least in our value chain, namely in the mines or at the production lines where they are earning below living wages. Yeah, we fill the gap and we pay that extra that is needed to increase their incomes to get to a living wage or to improve the conditions in the mine site. So that is how we feel we have a responsibility as a international, multinational company to have an influence on the level of income of people worldwide, especially those that are working in our value chain. And so that is the way how we address this topic. Yeah, we have, of course, there's refurbished devices. We have refurbished devices that are for a lower price, that come for a lower price as well. But again, there will be many people in this world that won't be able to buy or have and to spend such an amount of money, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's it's true. I just wondered where you were on that, and I think as you say, it's good that you're reinvesting in the value chain and people's lives. It brings me on to a question, because we do like to touch people with our podcast. Do you have examples where either through third parties or yourself where feel you've made a real impact on someone's life? Has someone in your work approached you, or you've heard from the mines that you were talking about?
We just had actually our CEO and CFO Raymond and Oscar came back from a trip last week to the mines in Congo. And I've been there myself as well. And it is always touching again to see it, to hear the stories of the people there, how we have been able to make a difference in their lives, either by, for example, creating a culture of saving where people were not used to save their money to spend their salaries on agendas that give a longer term, that are relevant for a longer term perspective. For example, invest in education or in micro enterprises or protective equipment that ensures that for the longer term you'll be living a healthier life, or for tools that will make you easier to run your business more efficiently, enabling people that are really living it with very little income, enabling them to earn a level of money and to save some of that money to actually start getting a bit out of that poverty cycle. That is why we are here and why we're doing it for. And that is always really touching to hear. And that is exactly what is happening in the DRC. Yeah, with the money we're investing there.
I mean, I only follow it. I haven't had the privilege of going to DRC, and but on TV, you know, we you do see that, don't you? These mines and these people literally covered in mud, caked in mud, and really horrendous situations. But glad to see that, you know, you're making a difference to those people's lives. And as you say, if people can start thinking beyond, we call it hand to mouth, you know, this sort of existence, and think of a future, maybe invest, as you say, build the economy. It actually brings the whole of that society up, I guess, right, as well.
Exactly.
So it's the whole, and then therefore continues on that way. And so, what does the future hold for Fairphone? Any particular plans and any particular key milestones ahead of you?
Well, we've had a really great year. We actually closed our last quarter, Q4, with almost 85% of year-on-year growth, revenue increase. That is first one in Fairphone history. So it shows that we are really on a steep growth path, and we're super excited about that. So we have ambitious goals, but also realistic ones we're seeing now to grow in the coming years. We've already, so we want to grow both within Europe as well as outside Europe. We already took a bit of a small step to the US, and we will be looking to broaden that. We brought our Fairbuds XL refresh to the US last year. So yeah, we brought them to the US market. And what we're also seeing is that there is at the moment, there's a lot happening, of course, globally.
Yes, you could say that again.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, we can talk a long time about that. But what for sure, what we see happening is that there is this trend about investing more within Europe in European products, and people looking more to buy products that originate from Europe and that are built based upon European ethical standards. Even there is markets outside Europe where there's an interest in buying products that are made with European ethical standards. So that is something that is, of benefit for us. And we will be positioning ourselves more as the European phone, the European Fairphone. And that should only help further grow our footprint, our market footprint, but therefore also our impact, which is super exciting.
That's fantastic. We like on this podcast also, you know, elevate projects to a level to also join the dots, as I call it. So are you looking for distributors in particular countries? Are there anything from a distributor perspective that, you know, the standard they have to reach to become a distributor, or what is your approach to scaling into different markets? Because there might be people listening.
Yes, for us, our indirect sales channels are very, very important. And they are the biggest part of they cover the biggest part of our sales footprint. So we really especially want to grow through indirect sales channels, resellers, distributors. And we have started to do that really scale that up in Europe, especially in the Netherlands, in Germany, in France, UK. And we want to step up and further, develop that in those countries, but also in other European countries, plus the US. That's what we're looking at. So if you're a distributor or reseller and you're interested in bringing a device to markets where there's a growing demand for high quality, ethical, and long-lasting devices, you know how to find us.
Fantastic. Yes, we're absolutely, anyone listening, we're happy to pass on, but I think you can be found over the internet as well. So that's great.
Yeah.
So you've been involved in the project for 10 years, you said, but what, when you get up in the morning, what gets you out of bed and what do you personally get out of being involved?
Oh, well, that's a, that's a big question, but I've always been driven by making a difference and making, it sounds always so cheesy, but it's just making the world a better place. And that is what I am motivated for when I get up, thinking about how we can make people's lives more valuable, more valued is what I wanted to say. And and making our planet, saving our planet.
For society, I guess, yeah, and
Yeah,
contributing
yeah,
and
yeah.
making it a better place. Yeah, I think that's laudable, as they say. And we also like to give our guests, as I say, we're trying to be a positive podcast and give the opportunity to give a shout out. Is there anyone in particular or a group of people that you'd like to give a shout out related to the work being done?
Yes, I like to give a shout out to our early supporters, to the activists that provided the initial spark, to my colleagues who are on a daily basis working to build sustainable modular products that challenge the industry, and to our customers who believe in our mission. They are the ones that prove that a mission-driven model is the future of tech.
Absolutely. Right. Well, we're coming towards the end of the podcast. So you are now part of the Digitel Talk family. So welcome to that, which means that we again want to share and allow people to collaborate between each other. And also, if you know of other stories as well worth telling, bring them to us as well. So it's been a real pleasure to have you on the podcast, Monique. And learning how Fairphone is making a difference in shaking up how mobile phones can be produced ethically and sustainably at a very high quality.
Thank you, Ian. It was really nice to be part of this podcast.
Thank you for being our guests, and look forward to hearing how you do at next week at NWC.
Did you know?
How much e-waste do we produce each year?
Yes, 65 million tons. And actually that's almost equal to 100,000 large airplanes in weight, and it contains minerals that are worth over $60 billion. So that is waste that we throw. That is money, value that we throw away every year.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to rate us and subscribe, and feel free to follow us on LinkedIn. And if you have comments or ideas for future episodes, please send us an email. Thanks for being part of the Digitel Talk community and for listening. Stay tuned.